I'll just wing it.
This is supposed to be fun after all. So, all right. So, good afternoon, everyone. No, that sounds horrible. Let's try this again. In my videos, I have a hello and welcome. The students always know that, so I think I'm going to start.
Yeah,
with that.
mine in my chemistry videos at the end was always "see you in the next one."
Oh my goodness!
So
I'm
gonna have to suppress the urge to do that.
No, you should just own it. Just own it, especially if for some reason, any of your other students end up seeing it. So, all right. So, hello and welcome. In this video, I am here with one of our new librarians here at UAB. Thought I'd take this opportunity to introduce you to the resources here at UAB, not just the normal resources like the books that you would expect to be over here in the library, but just some of the features, some of the resources, some of the services that our UAB librarian has. And before I talk too much, I'm going to turn it over, let our new librarian introduce herself.
Hey, y'all. I am Ashley McNeill. I am the new engineering librarian. It's been a great time so far. I've been here for just over a month and a half, so really getting to know you engineers. My background is all in physical chemistry. I was a chemistry professor for a couple of years, so yes, I can help you figure out how to do dimensional analysis, but that's for another video probably. Yeah, so I'm here for you guys to help you find any information you need, access resources.
Well, fantastic. And thank you for taking your time to be able to do this. I know this is a new format. We're trying something new. You guys let us know what you think about this. I'd like to try to bring in some of our guests in this format more. So feel free to let me know what you think about this. So I guess my first question to you is kind of what is your role here at UAB?
Great question. So my role here at UAB is to be the liaison, is what we call it, the reference librarian liaison for the School of Engineering. So that means I am here to support faculty, staff, and students in their information needs. So whether it's for a class project or perhaps if your professors are looking for an interesting paper for you to read, or whatever, if you want extra textbooks to reference for homework problems, that's what I'm here for. You can ask me for any of those things.
All right, fantastic. And so we talked about books, and textbooks are actually kind of a little strange because most students don't realize that they can technically get the textbooks here from the library, at least certain versions of the textbooks. But it's easy to forget that the library has a ton of other resources. And so what can you tell us about what do our students get access to?
There are so many things. We could go on and on for a long time, but I'll try to keep it short. First, we do have access to many of the course materials that you need for a lot of your classes. There is a new website for that, which I will provide a link for, so you can look for that. And I recommend you check that list before you buy your textbooks every semester, because we're doing everything we can to make it more affordable. Many of the other resources, we have a lot of physical resources. If you're an on-campus student, we have study spaces, both solo and group spaces. We have a really, really neat, what we call it Stern Library, which is where the engineering collection is. That's where I live. We have a lib lab, which has all kinds of interesting devices that you can tinker with. They have Raspberry Pis. They do trainings for 3D printers that we have in both of the main libraries on campus, which is Stern Library and Lister Hill Library. There are laptops you can check out for up to 7 days, all kinds of things. We do have books, of course, right? The third floor of Stern does have what we call the stacks, which is where the books are kept. But the whole first floor, if you've been in Stern, you know, is collaborative space, right? Places that you can hang out with your friends, do your homework, you know, that kind of thing.
Meet with your teams.
Meet with your teams, please do. And if your teams are at the library and you are working on a project and you have questions, you can also invite me to stop by and answer your questions.
Okay. So really a little bit of a tangent here, but how do they go about actually reserving one of the spaces?
Great question. There is a website to reserve study spaces, the group spaces and the solo spaces. So you can book it from anywhere from that website, which again, I can provide a link for that. Also at the hub desk, which is what the front desk is called at both libraries, there is a computer just for seeing what spaces are open to be reserved, and you can reserve one right there, pick up your key for that room from the hub desk right next to it, and go straight to your
Oh,
room.
that's very cool. I did not realize that. That's
Yep.
very
You
convenient.
can book those for 3 hours a day. Doesn't have to be consecutive. Every day of the week
All right,
is
very,
my
very
understanding.
cool. Very
So.
cool. So back now to maybe some of the projects that some of our students are going to be working on. We have kind of a mix of students. A large number of them are going to be going into the professional setting. A small portion of them go on to graduate school, graduate studies. Although personally, I would like to see them have a little bit of experience dealing with research. And so in general, what do they have access to when it comes to the various databases? Let's say I give them a crazy topic to explore. Where do they start? What do they do?
Where to start is a great question. If you ask a student, they're probably going to tell you Google, right? Not that Google's a bad place, but you do need to recognize that there's the Google of the whole universe of information, which is probably too much for your class projects. Not academic enough, maybe. But there's also Google Scholar, which is a great way to search for journal articles, academic books, things like that. And you can do a patent search on Google Scholar. So that's kind of neat. You can also, you can modify your Google Scholar. You can attach your affiliation to UAB, and it can tell you which of those resources you can actually access through the UAB libraries. So let me know if you want to see how to do that. Email me.
And of course, one thing that we often forget is sometimes your search results in Google can actually be biased or unintentionally biased. They would like to think that they don't do it intentionally, but sometimes based on what's trending, etc. So you want to be really careful. So you really do want to do a reliable resource, use a reliable resource. So I guess if Google and Google Scholar might be enough sometimes, but then let's say they wanted to take it a step further. I know you've got a lot of the resources on the website, and I know that you're going to be providing some of that for me, but can you give them just a quick overview, let's say, of what we have at UAB search-wise, database-wise, that they can then look for, at least for the keywords, so that they know what to look for?
Sure. And some of this will depend on what you're looking for, right? So we have a variety of databases, and they're all really great for specific things, right? So for example, if you're looking for full text books or textbooks, you might want to look at Access Engineering, which is McGraw-Hill handbooks and textbooks. You might want to look at Novel, Knovel, which has all kinds of handbooks, full textbooks related to engineering, and those are very engineering specific. Of course, there are databases that will do more than engineering, but that would be for books, right? There are also lots of databases we have access to for journal articles, right? So trying to think of an example of that for engineering.
IEEE.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course. IEEE is a great example of that. So IEEE Explore, just Explore, no E, is great for looking up things, especially related to the field of electrical and computer engineering. They have access to conference proceedings, journal articles, a couple of standards as well, I think, for that field. So that's a great place to look for that, definitely. We also have some databases that are just for standards, right? So if you're in sort of a senior level design class, you should be looking at some standards probably. So IEEE Explore can find some of those. We also have ASTM.
Oh, okay.
Yep, we
so
do.
You do now have the, okay,
We
very
do
good,
have
very good.
ASTM, Compass is what that one's called. We have SAE Mobilis, which is for automobiles and that kind of thing. Lots of standards there. And we have access to some other things too. NIST is a place that has a lot of things you can access for free. There are some other things like that. And so, yeah, if you're looking for something specific and you're having trouble, again, that's where you could ask me to help.
Wow, that is fantastic. Most folks don't realize that, but many of those standards documents may cost upwards of $100 or more just for a single standard.
Yes,
So
some of those standards cost more than $1,000, depending on which standard you're looking
Yeah,
for. So
wow, that is great.
that is an ongoing project now that I'm here. That's one of my big projects, is trying to
That
provide
was hence
more
my surprise. I
standards.
didn't realize that we had done that. That's fantastic. So
Yeah.
I'm learning something here new as well. That's fantastic. So standards, the trade journals, if they, let's say they come across something that they might need, but they don't know if it's available here, or maybe it isn't available here. And I know that in some cases there's not a lot that UAB can do about that. They aren't necessarily going to purchase a standard just for one project, maybe, maybe not. But let's say the students come across a resource that is available elsewhere. What options might they have available to them?
Great question. So if there's something that you need that you're not sure if we have, there's a couple of ways you can look. If it's a journal article, we do have a search on the library website for e-journals. And so you can look for that journal title to see if we have access to it. If not, you can do an interlibrary loan, and our interlibrary loan department is really fast. If it's a PDF of a journal article you're looking for, they can usually have it to you 24 to 48 hours. Very fast. They're really good. Books also we can borrow for ILL if you're looking for a specific book. We do have partnerships with other universities in the state. So if it's a resource that they have, typically they're very happy to share it with us if our students need it, and vice versa. We do the same for them. Trying to think. Yeah, really, again, if you don't know if we have access to something, you can always email me. Again, that is one of the services I provide, is helping find things for you and with you, and verifying if we have access to something.
So I guess the last questions from a technical standpoint, got a couple more after that, but one of the other things that we look at in addition to codes, or I guess you could say engineers in general are interested in codes and standards, and then trade journals and just research in general, depending on what your focus area is in patents and IP. And that is, I know there's again a lot of resources that you can just go straight to the web for, but what is UAB, or what suggestions either through UAB or otherwise would you have the students who are interested in doing for instance, a patent search?
Right. That's a great question, and super important for engineering, obviously. Again, I mentioned earlier that Google Scholar does have the ability to search patents. But if I were going to recommend somewhere, you can go straight to the USPTO, which is the Patent and Trademark Office, and you can do a search through their patent search, their public patent search. You can also do a very advanced search that, if you'd like to talk about how to navigate that, definitely email me. We can talk about, I just did the training today. It's kind of intense.
It is pretty intense. Yes.
There's also Lens, I think is the one you recommended to me. That one works really well too. So there's a couple ways to do it. And those really focus largely on American US patents. There are also other patents, global patent databases and things like that, that if you're interested in what's going on in other countries, we can.
Yeah, and I think that's important.
That.
People forget that there are actually other patent organizations other than the U.S. Patent Office. So that's great. So you've actually got a little bit of experience in working with them as well here and there. No, that's good. I might
glance at them.
Sometimes, quite honestly, sometimes it's fun just to look at random patents. I've had a few quite interesting experiences finding things that are patented that you wouldn't have guessed that anyone would have went through that trouble to patent, but that's great.
Yeah, I love the age-old joke about which way you put the toilet paper roll on the roller in the original patent. I haven't looked for the patent, but it's out there.
It's probably out there, yes. Okay, so I guess probably the biggest question that students are going to have is, how do we engage with you? What would you like to see? Obviously, handing you a sheet of paper with an assignment and then running away is probably not what you'd like to have happen.
The running away would make communication difficult.
Yes. So
at least leave your name and email, please.
What would you like to see us do?
So probably the most convenient way for you to get in touch with me is via email. which is AMCNEILL at UAB.
We'll
So
work to have that
we'll have that
somewhere here in the video.
around. Or you can just Google UAB Library Engineering and it will bring you to me, right? If you go to that webpage, there's a button under my face that says email me. There's also a link to make an appointment with me if you want to go that kind of formal route. But honestly, email is probably the easiest.
Okay.
I will say also on the library website, if you linger on any library page for UAB for 30 seconds or so, out of the right side, you're going to have this pop out for the chat. And it is manned by live reference librarians, 8 to 5 every weekday. And I'm often in there. So if you chat there, make sure you change the library to Mervyn Stern. Otherwise, the health sciences and the medical librarians are going to answer you. You can just put in your question like, hey, this is a question for Ashley, and I will get right to it.
All right, very cool. I didn't realize that you were also monitoring it. I guess along those same lines, I know you're probably have plenty of things to do, especially if we start getting more help from you. Ideally, what kind of timeline would you like? I realize, you know, an hour before a due date is probably not when you want to first hear from us. When would you, what would you like?
That's not ideal for anyone.
No.
Honestly, the sooner the better,
Okay.
obviously. Like, if it's a really detailed question, some people, especially graduate students, might want to do like really deep down digging in the literature. I'm going to need lots of notice for that because that's a whole endeavor, right? But just for a normal assignment, I mean, at least 24 hours, I think would be good.
Sure.
And if you want to provide the information about your assignment to me, instead of just asking a question that seems really strange and vague, that's helpful too, but not just the assignment, preferably.
So one of the things that when I've worked with the engineering librarians, the liaisons, that we never really covered, and I think it's sort of a little mysterious to the students, at least I think it is, when they engage with you, maybe they have a question about a topic, maybe they just need some guidance on finding out something about a topic. Obviously, you can point them to a database or something, but what are they kind of expecting to get back from you? You know, obviously you aren't going to do the assignment for them, but what are they going to kind of expect back? So maybe if they know what they're going to expect back from you, maybe they'll be a little more interested in coming.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So it really depends on how you ask, right? I especially like to kind of point you to some places you could look, because often if you're searching for something right now, chances are pretty good in the future you're going to have another assignment. So if I can kind of introduce databases to you, then you may not need me for the next one. Not that I don't want to see you, but to make your life easier. I'm happy if you're like having trouble finding articles or something on a very specific topic, we can sit down together or do it over Zoom even. And like I can screen share and we can look for those articles together and we can work on narrowing your search terms and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have research consultations that the students are welcome to do, the professors are welcome to do if they'd like to, where again, we can sit down for 30 minutes, an hour, solo or with a group if you have a group project, and we can really work on finding that good information together. That's
amazing. I am amazed whenever I hear y'all say this, that we don't take more advantage of this. It really is truly amazing.
Little known secret. I think people really assume that we librarians, well, also, I don't know that everyone knows we exist, but I think everyone thinks we're just real busy with our own work all the time. Like, you are my job. Yeah. And yes, I am busy. I have other things going on because I stay busy, but no, I'm here for you. I'm here to support all really of cool. You.
Yeah, very cool. Well, hopefully, if you don't mind, hopefully you'll be seeing more of me and also more of my students, because I would love for us to take advantage of these resources here, which I guess brings me to my last question for you is, you mentioned when we were preparing for this, that there are tons of other resources, some of which we aren't going to cover here. We were talking about help with documentation, help with sourcing, things along those lines. But what else would you like to mention that we have? What can they reach out to you for? Just in general, what other services can you
Right.
think of that you'd like to mention?
There are two big things I would like to mention
Okay.
for sure. One of them is reference management, right? When you're doing these kinds of academic projects or research, if you're getting ready to maybe publish or present your research, you need to be able to keep all of your citations in order. And there are lots of great software that we support here at UAB that the librarians are trained on. I prefer Zotero, but there's also EndNote, Mendeley, a couple of other options. So if you're interested in learning more about that and how it can make your life easier, definitely email me. The second thing is we actually have an Office of Scholarly Communication in the library, which I didn't mention before recording. So that is truly a surprise.
This is interesting.
So we have some real experts who their job is to help people figure out data management plans. If you want to publish, to help you pick a journal to submit to kind of get your feet wet in that whole field of publication. And so we have experts here all the time, just waiting for you to ask. And
Just call.
They're great.
Just call 1-800. No.
Yeah, right.
They're here waiting.
Again, you can just email me and I'll forward your email. But yeah, the Office of Scholarly Communication, they're in the same building as me, Stern Library.
Well,
so.
that's fantastic. No, I did not realize that. So there's another example of a new resource here, along with the
Right.
additional trade journals and the additional codes that I was not aware of. So that's fantastic. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. I know this was probably a little unorthodox, but
I think new things are fun.
absolutely, I agree. So I'm great. I'm very grateful to you that you were willing to give this a try and participate in this. Hopefully we can do this again. Maybe we can sit down and do some other topics together. And I hope you, the viewer, have gotten something out of this. If you have any questions for either of us, feel free to reach out. If you have any suggestions of other topics you'd love for us to cover in this, again, hopefully this is part of a bigger series that we're going to work on. And if nothing else, come over and see you at some point here in the library.
Yeah, I have candy and snacks in my office.
That might just be enough.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll see you.
See you in the next one.
There we go.